That's right, fellas, the WX skill tree is still in beta, but don't worry, we've got some new things to show you. Look at these guys. Wow, exploitator. Wow, what does that do? Anyway, let's cover it, shall we? If I don't mention anything, it means it hasn't changed. But overall, the shadow-affinity has been completely revamped, but there's some parts of it that are still left over. So let's go over it, shall we? There's actually been 2 releases of updates. One was like this morning, like today, and one was like 4 or 5 days ago. So we'll get to the shadow-affinity, but first let's cover how they released it in order. So first, we have a new circuit, the Chessmaster circuit, and it goes in the gamma slot, which is great. It means you could have like 2 spin circuits and a clockwork circuit, for example. So it's just a needed 1 slot gamma circuit. You scan a knight to unlock this, and it costs 3 biodata and a gear. Now, what does this do? It's actually pretty good. So, with a little bit of pretense. So, with the clockwork, with the Year of the Clockwork Knight disabled, you can only recruit 2 of each clockwork type. So my clockwork run, rip, you can't do that anymore. Except if you're WX. WX can recruit 3 of every type, but you still got quite the limit. And so, oh no, it's gonna aggro me if I get too close, right? So if you get, you can get like pretty close to clockworks without them aggroing as WX, but now with this plugged in, I can get right up close to it and it will just be neutral. All clockworks are now neutral to WX, including the broken ones down in the ruins. Unless, of course, you attack them, then they'll retaliate, of course. Not only are they neutral to you, unless you attack them, then they'll be aggressive, but you can just, once they're de-aggroed, you can just recruit them, just like that. So without having to stun them, you could just recruit clockworks now. Very cool. Which, of course, is a very big deal in the ruins, because it means you can grab, like, bishops to then stun the clockworks, but yeah, so with this plugged in, you just don't need to stun them, you can just recruit them. But that's not the only thing it does! What happens if you plug in multiple? Well, the TLDR is, the more of these you plug in, it increases your limit of each of the clockworks that you can recruit. More than you would otherwise. And now let me just recruit them all. Y'all clankers are so loud. So it says unit on standby. So, you don't actually have a hard limit, it seems. So I used up all of my 21 gears, which means I've recruited, well, 21 plus the initial knight. So 22 clockworks. But the ones that aren't following me, see the ones over there that are sleeping? I think those are recruited, but because WX said unit on standby, I think what that means is as soon as one of these die, one of these will replace it. But as you can see, I have like a whole lot of clockwork. What is that? 5 of each? I think 6 rooks, 5 bishops, and 5 knights. And if something tragic were to happen, like 110 shadow meteors. Long. No. Ah, see? So then they died, and then these guys instantly wake up and start following me to replace them. So there you go. That's how that works. Cool! So you can have a limit up to like 6 or 7. Oh my goodness, he said it! Of each type with all of them plugged in. Now, in reality, I don't think you would do this. That's a lot of... actually, you know what? You haven't really got a lot of good gamma circuits. TLDR with gamma circuits. I've done like 2 boss rushes at this point. Sonic Invoker circuit is like kind of good actually in like the early mid game. Spin cycle is like best once you've got them all. Or in the pick slash axe, that's good too. So in reality, I think you'll probably have 1 clockwork circuit always plugged in, just because making them neutral means that the ruins are just completely safe. You just never get attacked by clockworks. And if you pair that with the bone helm, the ruins actually, you won't get attacked by anything in the ruins. So that's insane. Anyway, that's the first thing. The next thing is this skill. They got rid of Field Survey 2 and introduced Signal Booster, which increases the boost, like the radius, all of your drones, including Jimmy, the Roto-mapper, Zapter, Auto-grabber, and Explorator. We'll get to what these 2 are. But I don't really want to show this. It just kind of, the numbers don't really matter. It just boosts the signal of this stuff. You probably won't be using it. It says that now the Roto-mapper acts much like an Ocu-Vigil. As you can see, it's now got like a highlighted area around it, much like a player or an Ocu-Vigil, so it like updates what's there rather than it just gliding without the highlight. I think this has some practical function, as in it will update what it sees, like a live update. So yeah, that's pretty neat, very cool. Anyway, let's keep going. So this is a big one, which I wasn't sure if they were like, if this was intended or not. So with these backup chassis, what used to happen, right? So see how I have 60 hunger and full health? When I would switch bodies, before your stats, your proportional stats would switch to the new body, but now that's not the case. The chassis now have their own stats, which you inherit when you switch them. So no longer can you just like switch to a low max health body, eat 1 gear to like fully heal, then switch back to our high health body to be at higher max health. So your stats do not proportionally switch now. Each body has their own stats. This makes more sense and is a decent change, sure. Now, We've got some possessed chassis changes. That is the lunar affinity. Also, they made it so you can double click to unlock skills. Isn't that cool? So you've got your possessed chassis. So the changes that they say they've done is they follow a bit more tightly to the player, so they just stay a little bit closer. Then they can, this is a huge one, they can be opened to view their inventory. But then as soon as you close them, they reactivate. That's insane. These have 15 inventory slots each, the same as you. So you can have up to 3 15 inventory slot chesters, which is like insane. Like, I can totally understand if you gave them like triple hunger circuits, like triple super gastro circuits, so you never had to feed them, and then just use them as storage like this that follow you around. And what's really good is if you kill one of them, and you drag him over there, right? And then you teleport to him, these two right here, they will teleport to wherever you just teleported to. And they'll just come running from off screen. So even if this was at like Pearl's Island and I teleported to it, those guys would teleport to me. Now, what does this mean? It means that you just don't really need the transport drones, because you can put stuff in these guys, store them up with whatever. You can put your whole inventory, your whole backpack in them, then just teleport to your other body, and then your clones will come over, and you just open them back up. Oh, the wrong one. And you just grab that, and it's also really fast. There's no fuss, no hassle opening them up. It's really fast. It's really good. So, huge change, and it's, yeah, super duper good. Next is the change they've been promising for, like, ever, which is they now use, like, repair kits. So they'll use Void Cloth repair kits, Bright Shade repair kits, and Warbus repair kits to repair anything that's broken. So, their logic for this is if they have something that they can repair and it's broken, they'll just repair it. As long as they're not doing anything else. If they're fighting or moving, they won't do it. Unless they have nothing else to use, then they'll repair it as well, I'm pretty sure. There's not really much to show here, except over hold F, I have sped up the game, that this guy will eventually break his staff and then he'll fix it. So as you can see, when I attack, they run to max distance and then they start attacking. So this, when you're fighting like trash mobs that are going to die in only a few hits, like giving them ranged weapons is kind of annoying. See, when we're attacking, he's not repairing it, but if we're doing nothing, then he'll repair it. See that? Cool. And then he re-equips it, which is really good. If you're unaware, basically, I've done so much playing with these guys. From all of my testing, they're really good, but they're also really, really annoying. Like, when they do something dumb, it is infuriating. This includes running into bosses and taking damage, and then when they die, their bosses can trample their corpse, so all their circuits fall out. It's absolutely infuriating. The way to decrease this from happening is you give them a ranged weapon with at least one bit of armor, and then you hold F, and they'll stay away but still do damage. And this all boils down to, like, the Gloomrang is really bad damage because they do less damage with void weapons, with shadow weapons. It boils down to just give them the crown, preferably with the celestial jewels in, but you kind of need the celestial jewels, and give them a Bright Shade staff. The Bright Shade staff will only do 5 damage, but it will bounce 5 times, so that's 25 damage. But every swing they do, the Bright Shade staff bounces, so there we go. It bounces, and every single bounce will trigger a stult, which means they do a ton of damage. So this is the best way to use the clones in combat. Just give them a ranged weapon and just make them stay out of the way. Unfortunately, they do not refill the Howlitzer, which is a really good weapon, like really, really good, but they don't refill it. So you give it to them with 40 Hound's Teeth in, they won't refill it, and yeah. So, yeah. Clay, please give us a Howlitzer, which we can use. Give us a Howlitzer, which we can then use this on, so we can store infinite Hound's Teeth in it. That'd be so good. Oh my goodness, Clay, do it. But like, do it though, Clay. Oh, please. Anyway, so they use repair kits. Okay, cool. Moving on. These guys now drop gears that they've eaten. When I give you some gears, it's gonna chug one. Then if we all got slammed by 1,000 shadow meteors, tragically. Oh, the gears actually got obliterated. So the point is, if they eat like 4 gears, I think they drop half of them, so they drop 2 of the gears back. So yeah, cool. So gears are effectively just like, you can get more use out of the gears. So farming gears is already easy if you have the Moonstorms active, but so now it's even more rewarding to just use gears. Although, I still wouldn't trust these guys by giving them a stack of gears, because they just seem to chug them whenever they can slightly benefit from them, so they kind of waste them. But anyway, going back to these guys, Bright Shade Staff, Bright Shade Body, Crown, then as for circuits, like double Hunger and like Bean Booster, or like Hunger, Bean Booster, Health is solid, and then I think double Speed so that they run around faster, and an Electric Circuit so they don't get comboed is probably the best to do. And also, I don't think you can give these things the Clockwork Circuit so that Clockworks don't aggro onto them, but you can't like plug in lots of Clockwork Circuits into all of your chassis and have them have their own clockwork followers. As soon as you switch bodies, the clockwork followers will follow whatever body you switch to. Another big thing, which is like actually pretty cool, and it seems like kind of busted, which makes me think it's a bug and they'll fix it, or just like an oversight. So if I give that guy the Zapter drone, if you don't know what that does, it requires this skill to unlock, and you can activate it and you become an iPad kid, and then you can start shooting things. And it does 45 damage and it's electric damage. You go pew pew, and it has a range of 4 without any range boosting circuits. And it does count as you attacking. You can see my guy over there attacking his right shade staff. And you can also see, look, my clone is being an iPad kid as well. So we're actually going to use a boss because it's much easier to show. You can see that it gets stunned so much by the Zapter drone that Beardra just doesn't put an attack in. So if you had real gear, like full bright shade, like Beardra would die long before he could get an attack in. Now, the only way to recharge these Zapter drones, of course, is by a Winona generator or a lightning rod. So you basically have to just craft more of them once their durability runs out. So this is funny, but it's probably not all that practical. But like, look at this, it's so stupid. Against something like Bee Queen, it's not as effective, but you can just give your clones like 1 clone, 2 clones, a Zapter drone each for more stagger. But yeah, look, I'm just punching Beardra to death. So I think they'll fix this because basically all the bosses have this stagger resistance from electric. But it seems that the Zapter drone attacks slow enough that it bypasses it, or it's just so strong that it bypasses it. And in that case, he ran out of Zapter charges, so he had to use a different one. Anyway, so that's really good. They can use Zapter drones. It's kind of a gimmick, but like it kind of works, and the damage isn't that bad. It's like 45 damage. It doesn't attack as fast as a player, I don't think, but it's AoE and it's electric, so it has quite a bit of utility. So interesting, still pretty good. Now this is something I've not actually this is something I've not used yet. If we under the sea, under the sea, under the sea, under the sea. Okay, right, we found it. You can use your boys to help you for sailing. So if I'm gonna make a steering wheel, I'm gonna make an anchor. All right, fellas, let's set sail, shall we? So let me just release the sails, and then for whatever reason, oh no, we need to emergency stop. Quick, fellas. Let's do this. They'll heave with me. So that we end up doing it faster. And they'll also raise the anchor with you. So it's kind of just like everything happens a bit faster on the boat, which is like kind of legit. Because, you know, water is WX's like main weakness. So yeah, it's pretty good that that happens. Anyway. And then the best update so far. Oh yeah. Your clones now dance with you. Hell yeah. Right, anyway, now we're moving on to the shadow-affinity. This is locked on the main branch, but in the beta, it is not locked, and they've made some changes to it. Shall we investigate? So, instead of the auto-collecting thing, when you implant nightmare fuel, you now unlock these guys, auto-grabber. You have a limit of 2. Cost 1 nightmare fuel and 1 electrical doodad. They just made a change so these guys don't run out of durability. They will always stay by your side and they can't be attacked. And when you pick things up, they also pick things up. So they'll just grab resources. They also harvest resources. So if I picked a grass, they would come over and they would harvest grass and deliver it to me. But they do it based on your commands. So I did it once, so they do it once. If I just keep picking, I think they would just keep doing it. Yeah, so we're just like picking together quite efficiently like this. Obviously grass doesn't spawn like this, so it wouldn't be this smooth. But yeah, harvest resources, they pick things up. It's fine. It's like kind of neat. So that's what nightmare fuel does. And now you can plug in a pure horror. So once you unplug this, there's no way to cheese these. They disappear. And you don't get the nightmare fuel back, but you do get the electrical doodads back. Then you plug in pure horror, you unlock the exact same thing, but now you can have 4 of them. So yeah, you could just have 4 of them with pure horror plugged in. And that's all that does. So it's just 4 of them, otherwise they're the same. Oh, actually, I think these guys are slightly buffed. They either work faster or have a longer range or something. I think they're mildly better than the nightmare fuel versions, but otherwise you just get 2 of them. I mean, 2 extra. And they're otherwise like mostly the same. So that's cool. You couldn't plug in pure horror before, but now you can. Now, after that, you get the Shadow Heart. This has been very much changed. So before, you would get all of the collection stuff, but now you don't. So it doesn't stack anymore, so you don't get any of the collection abilities that I just showed you, nor the older collection abilities. Instead, you've unlocked 3 exploiterators. It has the same recipe as the grabber things, electricity and nightmare fuel, and I can make 3 of them with the heart plugged in. What do these guys do? Well, I actually had them plugged in, any eagle-eyed viewers. I had them plugged in at the start of this video. So let me just give myself a glass cutter and a logs. What these guys do is they have a range, and they will scan enemies. So I've just attacked Bearager, but I missed, but anyway, these guys will start scanning Bearager. And as they're scanning Bearager, oh, I'm doing increased damage. Very cool. So I'm going from 68 to 80.2. These guys give you a 6% damage boost for each of them. So I have 3 of them, so that's an 18% damage boost while they're scanning. But of course, if I'm kiting, for example, if see, they stop scanning sometimes. It's gonna do the stomp, so I have to run away to dodge it and come back. They actually stayed scanning. They're doing pretty good. So before, these guys were like really wonky. They would like stop scanning the millisecond you stopped attacking a boss, which is kind of whack, but they've changed it so that they scan much more consistently. They can only scan one thing at a time, but otherwise they give you a 6% damage boost each. If you recall, this is replacing the shadow heart effect of before it would whip an enemy and you get a 25% physical damage boost. Now it's just these guys and they have to scan it. So they stay active most of the time, I think. So they're fine. So this is 18% damage. If you unplug this, it dies. And then the Possessed Shadow Atrium does the same thing, except you can have 4 of them. So now you can have a 24% physical damage boost because you can have 4 of them. These guys used to have durability, like they would die over time, like the amount of time they scanned, but they removed that. Now they last forever until you unplug your heart and they get disabled. It is technically a nerf from before, but like whatever. And otherwise, having the Possessed Shadow Atrium plugged into a plugged into a chassis, it does the same duplicating nonsense as before, except with one major caveat. Also, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, these bots, they follow the body that made them. If I have a body with like pure horror, I can make 4 of these guys. I'm just gonna spawn a bajillion grass. Then I'm gonna swap bodies. And they will stay with that body and they'll keep gathering resources while there's resources nearby. So that's cool, right? So inactive bodies, all the drones will stay active and do things. So it does mean you can have individual drones on individual bodies. And I just had an idea. Never mind. I thought, oh, you can have clones and have each of your clones can have these guys, but of course it's 2 different affinities. So that wouldn't work because you can't have both of them. So I think I've covered about what these guys do. This is much more fitting for WX, I think, much more fitting, like making drones rather than having the heart, like just whip enemies to get a debuff, but whatever. Now, here's one change for the Shadow Affinity, which I think is like really cool. So as long as you have the Shadow Affinity active, you can now just eat Pure Horror or Nightmare Fuel. And what this does is it artificially maxes out your charges. So if you get into trouble, like you get wet, and your charges start draining, or you're starving and your charges start draining, you can eat Nightmare Fuel or Pure Horror, and it artificially keeps your charges maxed out. You can see the fuel running out is an indication of the timer of how long left you have. Pure Horror lasts longer than Nightmare Fuel, but you're gonna have so much Nightmare Fuel that you can just chug a Nightmare Fuel. And Nightmare Fuel, yeah, drains much faster, but there you go. You can artificially keep your charges up if you get wet and you lose all your charges. Because, you know, getting wet and losing all your charges is like kind of a big deal. Because your max health, if you have like max health, that will get disabled. Spin cycle circuits, they get disabled. All your speed circuits will get disabled. So yeah, once it reverts, you get the whatever your charges were before. So it doesn't restore your charges underneath. It just artificially puts it maxed out, much like the Bone Helm. So that's actually a really good change and actually, yeah, very, very legit and makes the Shadow Affinity quite good. So overall, Shadow Affinity is good. Like it's fine. Like, these guys are just, they're solid. Vicky, tell me their secrets. There's some more changes. So, for the refrigerate and thermal circuits, they've made a change which I'll try to show you. So, when you start freezing, you can plug the thermal circuit in. It increases your temperature such that you're just above freezing. But now they've changed it so that since you were just above freezing, you would have the icicles around the edge of your screen to show that you're really close to freezing, but you're not freezing because of the thermal circuit. They've now made it so that it removes the outer layer to the screen, so it's just nicer. But you are still very close to freezing, but they just removed that outline from your screen. So that's cool. Same thing for summer and the refrigerant circuit. Then they've made a change with Warbis gear. I don't think it's super useful though. So Warbis headgear and the Warbis armor, if you didn't know, they have a lock-on effect. So once you attack something, their effects activate while you're in range of the thing that you've attacked. And if you lose the target or switch the target or get too far away, it will reset the buff. The helmet gives damage, but it's bad, and the Warbis armor is quite good. It gives you ramping speed bonus. The change is that the signal booster buffs their range if you have beta tinkering one and unlocked, which I do. Ultimately, this doesn't really matter. The Warbus headgear is really bad damage bonus. You'd rather use a crown. And, like, to get this, you either need to get very lucky killing Scrappy Werepig, or you've already defeated Celestial Champion. And then you have this because you have the Lunar Rift active. This is kind of poo-poo. And then with Warbus armor, it's good defense, 85% physical and 5 planar defense. The main bit is that you get speed from it. But because you're playing WX, you probably have at least 2 speed modules plugged in already. So you don't really need extra speed. So you'd probably just use the Bright Shade armor because it has more defense, especially if you're fighting lunar enemies. But still a cool change, but you'd probably won't use it. They've also said that Jimmy now ignores walls when pathfinding. That's fine because he flies. It makes sense. And when you make Nutra-Bricks now, let me just get bricked up real quick, huh? So they've made it so that... Yes, scan the evil froggy. You can now water Nutra-Bricks directly to moisten them up so that you can eat them. So you'd have to set things on fire to then do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty good. So that was the main release. So those were the main changes they released 4 days ago. And then they released some yesterday. And it's only a few changes. So the auto-grabber and exploitorator drones, that's these guys, will no longer expire over time from usage. So before they used to expire, now they just don't expire. The only way they expire is if you unplug the thing that enables them in your chassis. So if I rip out my possessed shadow heart, they all get disabled. Ooh, something I forgot to show you. So, you know, I was talking about the mimic nonsense over here, and then over time mimics spawn from this. So they did a change which is like really whack and lame. Here we have a construction amulet and a deconstruction staff. We drop them here and we wait a little bit. A mimic will spawn. Just to expedite things, I'm just gonna like show it. And then it goes around, and then after a while it will lock on to something to mimic. It can only mimic equipable things, and otherwise it runs away from you. So this mimic just plays a construction amulet. I pick that up, and then we want to craft something. Yeah, so let's craft a campfire. Oh, deception. So even though that should work because I have the possessed shadow atrium, it doesn't work. You're not allowed to use construction amulets. But then they've changed it, so you can't even use deconstruction staffs either. So he just mimics the deconstruction staff. Let's grab that. And then we want to deconstruct this electric doodad. You go to do it. Deception, not allowed. So even though you're meant to be able to use mimicked items, there's a hard rule for the construction stuff. You're not allowed to use construction stuff. Everything else works totally fine. So things that you might want to duplicate is maybe like bone armor, full sight clubs, like any weapon or armor that isn't rechargeable, like it gets destroyed when you've used it up. That's quite useful because what you would do is you would make, for example, a full sight club in the ruins. Leave it at 100% because when they copy it, they copy the durability. And you drop the full sight club right next to a chassis with the heart plugged in. When it copies it, you just remember which one is the real one, and then you could even put something to mark it, so I know this is the real one. Then you just keep grabbing all of the possessed ones. So I can use this Sulfate Club as much as I want, it will not teleport back. It will not transform back into being the Mimic. So in this way, you're technically getting 3 Full Sight Clubs. Because I believe about once per day, the Mimics come out of the body and mimic something close by. So this is pretty good. Like, you just get 3 Full Sight Clubs, 3 Full Sight Crowns, 3 Full Sight Bodies. Anything that can be equipped can be copied. But in the late game, you're using like Bright Shade. And if you mimic Bright Shade, it doesn't really do a whole lot because the cost to repairing Bright Shade is 1 repair kit, which is really cheap. So by duplicating the gear, you can't use 2 of them at the same time. So you're just saving yourself a repair kit because you can use up the mimicked one until it breaks. And then you can leave it on the floor. And if you leave a mimic item on the floor for long enough, it will turn back into a mimic. So it doesn't always stay as the item. If you have a mimicked item and then you like put it in a chest, I think it stays as the mimicked item. But anyway, doesn't matter because if you only have one thing they can mimic, they'll just turn into a mimic, then mimic that item again, and then you just pick it up whenever you want to use it. So like it's fine. You probably wouldn't do this because, you know, this is like possessed shadow atrium, so you need to open the shadow rifts, at which point you have access to void gear, so you're probably not going to be using the full sight gear. But whatever, you can duplicate anything that can be equipped, but not, and you can't use construction magic. Next change they made was with the auto grabbers. I can't really show it, but you know how you can leave auto grabbers in a inactive chassis, which I showed before. They will continue to work off screen, so they'll continue to grab things while the area isn't loaded, much like Wobot. And a really good change, when you hold down spacebar to pick things up, before that button used to activate like the transfer consciousness if you got close to a body. So if they held down spacebar, it would transfer consciousness. But they changed it so that spacebar doesn't do that anymore. So you wouldn't really accidentally like transfer consciousness when you didn't mean to. And that is all of the changes. Now I'm gonna quickly just talk about my opinion on the shadow, the affinities of the skill tree as a whole for electrocuting things, and because your clones can use it, it's kind of decent. But and all of these are like, all of this is just good. What's up is amazing. All of these are good, but you have to make decisions in what you have to drop. So I usually drop these two, even though processing circuit, Alpha Tinkering 1 is really good because it makes the super processing circuit make you take 50% less sanity drain. Anyway, I'm mainly going to talk about the affinities. So the lunar affinity in the early game, now that you can access their inventory really easily, I can totally see in the early game going to Lunar Island and making like 1 or 2 clones, and then giving them super gastro circuits so they just don't like get hungry all that often, so they're not a big resource drain, and then just otherwise keeping them alive by giving them armor and weapons. So you're not really using them to help in combat, but they would just act as big infantry chesters. That's kind of legit. You probably wouldn't do it. It's probably not very efficient, but it's kind of cool. And then overall, I did a run with these guys for some of the bosses, and overall, like, they're funny, but they're just not worth the effort in the early game and even the mid game. You can put in the effort to make these guys and gear them up for Fuel Weaver if you're struggling with Fuel Weaver, like damage output for Fuel Weaver, but it would be faster to just ignore them and go kill Fuel Weaver yourself. But if you're struggling, these guys help because they give you more damage, right? But you do have to gear them up properly. You really don't want these guys dying during boss fights, because if they do, the boss will probably be destructive and it will destroy the chassis, which then pukes out all of the circuits which you've plugged in. And also, if they died in the Fuel Weaver arena, that chassis is just kind of stuck there, because you can't bring a Gestalt to that chassis until you unlock the Warbot fight where you can capture Gestalts. And that leaves you in an annoying position where you have to like destroy the body and take all the circuits. Now that is made easier now because all of your clones have a massive inventory and you can access it, so you can like fill up their inventory with all of the dead clone stuff. That is something to note. And so that is to say, the TLDR for the Lunar Affinity is, it's quite annoying and not very efficient until the late game. As soon as you get the jeweled crown and you can give them all Brightshade staffs, Brightshade bodies, and jeweled crowns, they're really good. But I still got mad tilted, like really annoyed when they would do dumb stuff. You either need to invest in these guys like fully or not at all. That is to say, if you invest in them slightly and then they die during a boss fight, it's a massive pain. You'd rather just not use them. So you do need to give them like 2 layers of armor or 1 layer of armor and a range weapon so they stay away from the boss, so that they just don't die during the boss fight. But otherwise, good fun. Then the Shadow Affinity, I think it's fine. It's as fine as before, and it's maybe like, it's like a little bit worse technically because it takes a little bit longer to get the damage buff. But it's fine. The best ability from this, I think, in my opinion, is eating Nightmare Fuel and Pure Horror to give yourself artificially maxed out charges. So if you get in trouble, you can just eat it. Like, that's really useful. As for recommended skill tree, I think this is kind of it. The Lunar Affinity is funny, but it's a bit of a gimmick. Shadow Affinity is probably a bit more useful, like, in reality. But these are funny. Like, in the late game, these are much easier because you have the Jeweled Crown. So the reason why it's easier in the late game, the Jeweled Crown makes you have lunacy wherever you are, which means you have Gestalts wherever you are, which means you can, wherever you are, you can inhabit one of your, or as many of your chassis as you want with Gestalts, because you can spawn them anywhere. So that means if they die, it doesn't matter. You could just instantly revive them. Yeah, so it's really good. And otherwise, they haven't changed anything with the clones in their, like when a Gestalt infests them, they get maxed out stats, maxed out charges, all their circuits stay active. That hasn't changed. So, like, great skill tree. This is probably the recommended skill tree. If anything, you might want to get rid of, like, Field Surveyor once you've unlocked the map, and maybe even Transport Drone if you've got the clones. Because if you have the clones, you already have Transport, right? Because you can just use them. At which point, you'd get rid of these two and unlock these two. But in the early game, these are just so good. You might even want to get rid of the Zapter to unlock this, but yeah, that's kind of it. That's the update. I think, like, the WX skill tree is, like, fine. It's just, I think I've just been looking at it for so long that I'm kind of bored of it. But overall, like, this is funny. This is probably better, like, more practical. But overall, good skill tree. Very fun. But yeah, these guys get very annoying when they keep dying. Anyway, that's kind of it. Discuss in the comments and let me know what you think of everything. And the WX guide that I'm making, I'm not releasing it until this beta is closed, because I don't want to release my guide on the main channel and then they change stuff in the beta and then it's like what I've done is just redundant, right? we want the video to be like last a long time, to be relevant for a long time. And as for the WX boss rush, it is my first boss rush is being edited, and it's not fully out of date because I used the lunar affinity, not the shadow affinity, and they didn't use repair kits back then, but it didn't really matter because their armor didn't break. So it will still be mostly relevant, but yeah, so look forward to that. Anyway, talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you think, and yes, I'll see you later. Goodbye.